For centuries, it did not exist, at least not to the world. Tucked deep in a sunburnt basin between uncharted ridges of the Sahara's forgotten edge, surrounded by tectonic walls and magnetic fields that bent compasses into madness, the nation remained hidden. No satellite had caught its shadow, no plane had flown its skies. On every global map, the space where it breathed was left empty, a void between nations. But inside, life thrived in defiance of obscurity. The city pulsed like a living engine, massive domes of obsidian metal, smooth as glass, hummed with silent energy. Suspended bridges of woven light arched between sky towers carved from mineral-laced stone. Every surface shimmered with inscriptions, codes not etched but grown into the materials like veins in living marble. It was a kingdom of the future, untouched by colonization, invasion, or the burden of foreign conquest. Its borders were not protected by walls, but by ancient technology, a hybrid of earth sorcery and quantum design. Those who stumbled near were turned away by hallucinations of endless dunes or sudden storms. A defense, older than any weapon. Its people were few but formidable. Descendants of scientists, warriors, and sages who once walked barefoot across empires, now walking amidst nanite gardens and mind-linked machines. Skin kissed by sun, bodies trained in art, rhythm, and war. Eyes sharp with knowing, hands able to wield both staff and circuit. When the Great War rippled across continents, tearing nations apart, this tiny nation stirred, not to conquer, not to join, but because it had been found. A broken reconnaissance drone, unlike anything made on Earth, fell from the sky. The nation's watchers found it half buried in sand, carved in markings they recognized not from another country, but from a memory, a prophecy. Something ancient had awakened. As warships roared across oceans and empires collapsed like lungs without air, the forgotten nation prepared, not in panic, but in rhythm. Vaults were opened that hadn't been touched in centuries. Beings made of mist and code were summoned from crystal cores. Armor grown from bone and metal was distributed silently. The great chamber beneath the capital glowed once again. Its pulse synced with the blood of every citizen. Beneath it, deeper still, a single light blinked for the first time in 300 years. It was not a call for war. It was a warning. And beyond the desert, the world had no idea that the tiniest speck on Earth, the one they had always ignored, was about to determine its fate. The desert outside their borders felt heavier, older, like the dunes carried memories. The harsh glare of a sun, unfiltered by the nation's protective shields. Behind them, the basin and its hidden city had already dissolved into a mirage, erased from sight as if it never existed. No compass worked here, no star map aligned. They relied only on Niara's instincts, her eyes scanning for disruptions in the dune patterns, her ears tuned for whispers in the wind that were not wind at all. By the third day, the world shifted. Half buried in the sand lay the wreck of something that did not belong to Earth. Its black alloy skin carved with patterns that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat struggling to continue. A smell of burned ozone clung to it. Tay crouched, running his fingers along the strange surface. "This isn't wreckage," he murmured. "It's dormant." They found the tracks next. Long, razor-thin impressions that did not sink into the sand but hovered above it, as if pressed into a layer of air. They followed the trail until it ended at a fissure in the ground, wide enough to swallow a warship. From its depths came a steady pulse of blue-white light. They descended into the fissure, each step taking them deeper into cool air that smelled faintly metallic. The walls shimmered with inscriptions too fluid to be carved, symbols changing as they looked at them. Then the chamber opened around them, a vast hall with no visible ceiling, lit by slow-moving spheres of light that drifted like silent moons. A cloaked figure waited in the center, its surface shifting with rivers of living code. No face, no mouth, only two faint arcs of light where eyes might have been. "You are early," the voice said, but not aloud. It pressed directly into their minds, bypassing breath and ear. "The war you fear is already here." From the darkness above, a needle-shaped device descended, sleek, humming, its surface alive with faint, fractal light. "Take it. It will show you the way beyond the maps." Kalen stepped forward, every instinct warning him to stop. His fingers brushed the device, and the chamber dissolved. They were back in the open desert, heat pressing against their skin. But the horizon had changed. Black spires rose far ahead, twisting toward the sky in patterns that no human hand could have built. Above them, storm clouds churned with unnatural colors, the wind carrying a sound too constant to be thunder. The hum. It was closer now, and it was moving toward them. The armies came with steel and banners, dust clouds stretching for miles across the horizon. Their cannons rolled forward, pulled by beasts and machines, their rifles glinting under the sun. The generals of the great powers believed this would be swift, a hidden speck of land, a tiny nation, brought to heel by sheer force. But the desert was not theirs. As the first battalions advanced, the sand shifted beneath their feet. Invisible grids shimmered in the air, folding into towers of light. What appeared to be dunes split apart, revealing sleek gunmetal surfaces, defenses hidden in plain sight. The invaders fired first, shells arced high, screaming down into the earth. Yet none touched ground. Walls of energy rose from nothing, humming with precision, bending the trajectory of every cannonball until they dissolved in midair. Then the nation answered. From within the shifting sand, machines emerged, tall, agile constructs shaped like warriors, but sharper, faster, more fluid than anything the world had yet seen. Their movements were synchronized, their strikes exact. One sweep of their weapons cut through tanks as if slicing parchment. Overhead, the sky came alive. Aircraft from the foreign powers were intercepted before they even reached range, targeted by beams of light that split them open with surgical clarity. Smoke filled the horizon, but not from the hidden nation, only from those who had dared step against it. The invaders staggered, realizing this was not a forgotten village nor a weak enclave. It was a fortress, a mind of its own, a civilization that had been watching, waiting, unseen. And this was only the first breach. Yet even in defeat, the nations did not disperse. Their pride, their fear, their desperation drove them onward. What could not breach the wall in one charge, they believed, might crumble with many. And so, the war machine shifted. From across the horizon came the convergence of steel, armored divisions grinding forward, tanks like crawling fortresses, cannons thundering in the sandstorm. Engines screamed, and the desert filled with the iron weight of global might. Above, dark bombers cut across the sky like vultures, their shadows swallowing the dunes. Each carried the faith of empires, the belief that sheer numbers could overcome the brilliance of one nation. The first wave struck. Shells hammered against the wall of energy, explosions splashing across its surface like stones thrown into a lake of fire. But the wall did not bend. It pulsed. Each impact only made its glow deepen, the heartbeat of the land itself refusing to yield. Then, the counter-strike. From behind the barrier, the futuristic army emerged. not in scattered formations, but as a single machine of war. Mechs with towering limbs thundered forward, each step sinking deep into the sand. The sky lit again. Beams of radiant power chased the bombers, cutting them from the heavens. Great fireballs bloomed above the dunes, raining fragments that scorched the earth. And amidst the chaos, the leader of the hidden nations stood, elevated upon a hovering platform of shimmering alloy. His cloak streamed like fire, his armor alive with pulses of light. He did not raise his hand, yet the field obeyed his presence. Every strike, every beam, every motion of the army carried the rhythm of his unseen command. The enemy faltered. Entire battalions scattered, yet even in fear, they watched. For what stood before them was not just a nation, but something greater, a vision of war beyond their grasp. And so in the desert's furnace, the truth settled like ash. The world's combined armies could not break the forgotten nation. What they faced was not resistance, it was inevitability. The desert was no longer a battlefield, but a grave of banners and broken steel. The air, once thick with dust and thunder, had fallen into a silence so deep it felt unnatural. At the heart of this silence, the victorious nation's army stood in unshaken formation, armor gleaming with otherworldly light. Their weapons, still humming faintly with energy, no fatigue weighed on their bodies, no cracks marred their lines.